Hello everyone, today I would like to share with you a recommendation that you can incorporate into your homeschooling schedule. But if you are not a homeschooler, you can also just use this as a resource for your children at any time that you really want to go through it with your kids. And I heard about this resource from a lady that I interviewed on my YouTube channel that talks about theology, Christianity. Her name is Elizabeth Urbanowitz, and she recommended this resource, The Attributes of God for Kids, and it is written by Lydia White. And if you would like to see that video where I speak with her, I will leave it in the description section of this video. I highly recommend listening to it. I had been wanting to find some kind of resource where I can teach my children more about God, more about the Bible, and I have found this book very teaching friendly. I like to go through it very slowly and to really absorb the information with my kids, talk through it. You can go at the pace that you would like to go. You can incorporate other things that you would like to make it a richer experience. I think you can even use this in a church setting, like for a Bible class or something like that. But for our homeschooling, we are using this. And I should say that this book was created, was inspired by this book by A.W. Tozer, The Knowledge of the Holy, except it's made for kids. So the language is easier to understand in this book. So I bought this book so that I can read this in addition to reading this with my kids. And what I'm finding is that although it's written for kids, it's actually helpful for grown-ups to process all of these things about God that maybe we don't really take the time to think about. Actually, that was what this book, the introduction, begins talking about, that we live in times, and this was written years ago, but I think it's still true today, that we live in times where we don't really take the time to read about the attributes of God, who God is, or like meditate on those things about Him. We're not just still thinking about for example, how infinite He is, how unchanging He is, all of the attributes. So I'm really enjoying going through this book. It's really small, and so I decided to buy 2 other books by the same author, by Tozer, and it seems that these are going to go much more into depth about the topic of the attributes of God. It's volume 1 and volume 2. The volume 1 says A Journey into the Father's Heart, and volume 2 says Deeper into the Father's Heart. And so I just wanted to share that as well. Let's talk about the kids' book. In the beginning, you'll see there are table of contents telling us that the book is divided into 2 sections. The first section is going to be covering God's unique attributes, and the second section is going to be talking about God's moral attributes. So just to kind of give you an idea, the unique attributes would be that God's unchanging, infinite, creator, eternal, self-sufficient, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, sovereign, Trinity. And then His moral attributes will be talking about how He's good, just, righteous, merciful, gracious, loving, holy, jealous, wise, truthful, faithful. And so let's look into what this book looks like. Gives you an introduction where it actually discusses the terms. For example, you know, what is attributes? What does that even mean? And it also talks about how God is real, he's knowable, he's personal. And so it gives you also a visual chart where you can memorize the attributes of God visually through those symbols. And so, for example, what I would consider the first lesson, this is what it looks like. It really is just 2 pages for every attribute that you're going through. So this is God isn't changing. It talks about the topic. It provides examples to make it easier to understand the big words, especially since my kids are 7 years old and 5 years old right now. So it's really important to go over those definitions. And it gives you like life application moments. And I like to just go through this one day, and then the next day I like to go through this section, which is spending time with God, listening to God. It gives you a couple of Bible verses, but one of them in particular is a memory verse. So what I've decided to do is I have my flash cards here, and I'm writing down the memory verses so we can be going over them as we're going through the book. And as well as these definitions, I really think these are helpful. For example, it says God is unchanging. God does not change. He stays the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so the Bible verse that you would memorize is Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. So I feel like it reinforces it. And then it gives you, for further reading, a section. I suppose it's optional, but I like to do that section as well. And I was pleasantly surprised that it gives you that opportunity of reading a story found in this book, which I already had and we had gone through. It's called the Jesus Storybook Bible. So for this topic, it tells us to go read the story in page 170, get ready. And then that story kind of gives you the child-friendly version of the story, but below it, it gives you the actual Bible verses where you can also go into the actual Bible, read through those verses and discuss that and try to make that connection. What does what we read have to do with how God is unchanging? So that's fun too. And on another day, I would choose to do the rest of this, which is talking with God. It's a prayer, and I like to repeat the prayer with them, kind of get them into the habit of saying prayers, which could be a little intimidating for some kids if, you know, they don't practice, they don't have guidance. And then this is what's really amazing of this resource. It has a section titled Praising God, and it gives you a song recommendation, and you can go online, you can get it on your phone. It gives you the website, and this family, I believe they're called Seeds Family Worship. They have many volumes, so it'll tell you volume 7, the character of God. That's the name of the song. You go and you look for it, and you get to play it for free, which is really nice. Or you can download it, you can pay for the album as well. But I like using it free right now. So the songs are kid-friendly. So far, they are pretty much Bible verses, but with music to them. And if we're being honest here, sometimes kid songs are a little annoying, a little not my favorite style. Sometimes these songs even have like kids yelling. Maybe that's something you enjoy. Not necessarily my cup of tea. So these songs, I enjoy listening to them. I feel like they're very creative musically, and I feel that people are really talented that are singing it. So it's really enjoyable as well. We can listen to a song more than one time. And so we've been going through the first lesson so far, and we're really enjoying it. I feel like my kids are really going to have a deep understanding of who God is by the end of this resource, which I highly recommend. So that's why I wanted to share this resource with you, in case you are looking for something where your children can learn more about God, and you can join them and use, you know, additional resources as well to go deeper in your knowledge of the attributes of God.